Welcome to Romera Records virtual cast. Today we have on Kent Cheatham. How's it going, man?
Hey, good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. For those of you who don't know Kent, I met Kent back in college. We were both going to JSU. Like earlier,
Uh,
I had on Olivia, so now I'm bringing on another former JSU
yeah,
member.
just show up.
Yeah, JSU just show up. Dang, I ain't heard that in a minute. So you went to school for marketing, or was it management?
Uh, I actually it was business management with e-commerce concentration, and
Oh,
but before I got to JSU, before I transferred from Texas, um, I was actually working on a physics degree.
oh wow.
So yeah, way different.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like how do you get followers on social media from like how far away is the sun? It's way different question.
A little bit. So me and Kent actually worked together at Pizza Hut
Yeah,
way
yeah,
back when, and those
yeah,
were definitely good times.
yeah.
We
Probably scary.
Yeah, yeah. We've stayed in touch over time through social media and stuff, and it's been great seeing what Kent has been doing. So you have a fitness a business. Basically, you
Yep.
are doing like some boot camp type stuff.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
go into detail on that for everybody.
So it's a fitness franchise. It's called Camp Gladiator, and we're actually the largest fitness boot camp in the country as far as outdoors. Obviously, Beachbody's got everything that's on a screen covered, but we're mostly outdoors. I got involved in it 4 years ago. I met a trainer, and she was actually at a fitness expo that I was at, and um, it turns out Crystal had already started to try to get me to come to these Camp Gladiator camps, and we met this trainer, and I don't know, we just like hit it off, and became good friends. And she convinced me that I needed to be a trainer and quit my job and start with nothing. And so I said, okay. And yeah, it's great. It's weird. So we have outdoor boot camps for people of all fitness levels. Um, and just, it's functional fitness, and it's pretty simple, to be honest. We're just in outside in parking lots and stuff. And I run that franchise, and it pays the bills. So
So let's go back a little bit. So you
yeah,
actually you played basketball in high school. You're a pretty
yes,
good
sir.
athlete in
Yeah.
basketball. When you decided to stop playing basketball, did you feel that you feel like a lazy slob for not playing a sport anymore, or you like, well, I just need to just exercise every once in a while and I'm
Yeah.
good. Like, what was your
Yeah.
mindset, athletic wise, when you're done
Yeah.
with sport? Because that's how I felt. Like when I was done with
Yeah.
football, I was like,
Yeah.
what am I doing with my life?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you saw it firsthand. I went right after school, and I had chances to go play places, and it didn't work out for me. And my wife Crystal was obviously a softball stud at JSU, and I honestly think I stayed a little motivated for a while from her and staying competitive with her about stuff. But then when we got to college, you saw me, I blew up, and I got a little chunky. I just think you lose the fun of fitness.
Yeah, yeah.
Where when you're playing the sport, when you're playing football, it's not a workout. I'm playing the game, or
Mm,
I'm playing that. I'm doing something that's, as much as it's like it sucks. It's not called fitness. It's a sport, right?
hmm.
And I think you lose that, where it just comes off as more of, I'm playing basketball, I'm not working out. And yeah, and I let myself get a little ballooned up for a while there. Obviously, Pizza Hut. It was weird. I lost weight at Pizza Hut, which is I don't know how that happens, but yeah, I think that's a lot of it. I think you just lose that like childish fun out of it. Like it's working out now. It's something you have to do for your health, not for because I have to do it for basketball.
Yeah.
You know.
And I stay in pretty good shape, but like I am in way better
Stay. You don't even do anything, and you're just like jacked, like all the time. Like Jackson would like, I haven't worked out in 17 months, and then he would have, and I'm like, dude, you got. I didn't even know there were abs there. Like, what is that? Everybody
shape.
used to see it. Like you went and at one point you were working out with the football team, and you're like, I haven't played football in like 30 years. I broke my back 17 times, and you're like, I'm gonna go try out for football. Like
Oh my God.
you're like the non uh, professional athlete version of what's his face from the Seahawks. Why am I blanking? The receiver.
Oh, yeah, I'm blanking too.
I'm
He played
losing
a
it.
yeah, he played at Ole Miss.
Yeah,
Shoot.
he's just jacked for no reason.
I know what you're talking
It's like, oh, I got 2% body fat. What do you do for your health? I eat candy. Right?
But yeah, like, when I have somebody to work out with, like that
Yeah,
completely just changes
yeah,
my mindset because
yeah,
it feels like a competition now. It's like,
yeah,
oh, I need to be more fit than my friend, or
yeah,
I need to at least keep up with my friend so that I don't look bad when I'm working out with them,
yeah,
or I
yeah.
don't feel like a burden when I'm with them. So
Hmm.
that's one thing that's helped me. Have you found like, a person, either it's in your class or just in the area, that
No.
you're able to keep you accountable, and you can keep them accountable as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The trainers will for sure. They get on my butt because when I first came in, uh, I don't know if you had known this. I'd gotten after we moved back home to Texas, I got big into like doing running events, and I'd actually qualified for world championship in obstacle course racing.
What?
And
That's a
yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my God.
So like, it was, and the race I did was like a 17-mile race, and I ended up
17 miles.
yeah, yeah. So I'm telling you, I started running like 80 miles a week and stuff. I went nuts, and it was, um, it's because I was working out 2 times a day. Normally, one was a run, and then one would be like an hour lift or 2 hit sessions, and it was because of people, like you said. I found people in like the CG community and stuff through Crystal that I saw them doing all this stuff and having fun. And they're not necessarily as competitive as me, but me being around them, it was like, oh, they're gonna go run 10 miles, I'm gonna go run 30.
Mm.
Like you're not, and it wasn't even about one upping them. It was just like, hey, that I always tell people this: the best motivation in fitness to me isn't looking at the person you're trying to be; it's looking at the person that's behind you trying to be you.
Mm.
um, because I was around a bunch of people that weren't as fit as me, that couldn't do things that I just naturally could do. And one of the times that really flipped where I started getting really competitive was we did this partner workout. I had gone to a camp with Crystal, and shout out Ty Bradshaw. He's actually one of the trainers in our area and like an OG of the business. Um, he did a competitive like partner workout, and I would go to the gym, I would go to these boot camps, I would run on my own, and he puts everybody and he tries to section everybody off to with like light fitness level. So he does a little fit test real quick, throws us together, but the lady he numbers me with is like 350 pounds and has joint issues, and I'm sitting there at first like, oh, like, okay, what? I'm confused. Like, are you trying to like demolish this woman, right? And it was probably the most motivating thing that I've ever gotten, because what ended up happening is I was busting my butt, but he knew I was going to get done so fast with all of the rounds that I had time to come back to help her. And I just did it. It was just like, oh, it's just like a natural instinct. And he had planned the whole thing like in his head, like, oh, Kent's going to finish so fast. He'll come and he'll help this woman get through it. And what I started to notice was the people that were always less fit than me, but were working out in the same environment as me, were they had a harder job than I did, right?
Mm.
Like it's more difficult for me to have Jackson's chest than Jackson.
Mm.
right? I have to, and so I have to work harder to do that. And the same thing, this woman had to work a lot harder than I had to get through this workout. And it was like, man, like if she's working out this hard, then I have no excuse. And
Mm.
so like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like when you see the 300-pound guy on Instagram and people are just like, you know, hyping him up or making fun of him or whatever it is, that dude, it's a lot harder for him to do one squat than it is for me and you to do 10.
Yeah.
And if you keep seeing them continuously push themselves and they stick to it, it just like propels you. Like I went, I mean, I literally went nuts after that. After that workout, Crystal will tell you, like I was at home, like I was working out all day, every day. I went crazy. And then I had a baby. So,
So how's the little one doing?
she's good. She'll be 3 in November.
Dear God,
Um,
that's a grown woman.
yeah, dude, it's crazy. If she was here, I'd pop her up here with me real quick so you can see her. When she is a grown woman, she is about the size of the average 7-year-old. I'm not, bro. I'm not even kidding. People think I'm lying all the time, and I'm like straight. Like, you know how I'm the biggest goof and joke in the world, and I'll just sit and look at them like dead straight. It's like, no, like for real, my kid's bigger than your 9-year-old. It's like, what? And I'm like, Kent, your kid's 2. I'm like, I know, and they don't believe me.
Uh,
Yeah, she wears size 7T in clothes and a size 10 shoe at 2.5. She she's very much me. Um, she's got some of Crystal's kind of sweetness and but she's definitely not reserved in any. She'll say what she wants. She talks all the time. She doesn't know a stranger, and it's dangerous. The other day we're driving in the car, and she's like, "Hey, Dad," and she'll call me Dad. She'll call me Kent, Daddy. And it's like, so I just answer, and she's like, "Hey, Dad." I'm like, "Yes, baby," and she goes, "I need dance lessons." Oh, okay, baby. I was like, "We can do dance lessons." She goes, "No, with JoJo Siwa." And I was like, "How do you even know who this like?" And she's dead serious. And she's like, "You get me dance lessons with JoJo Siwa." I'm like, "You're 2. Like, what? How do you even know to like discuss this?" But yeah, she's a big girl. But I mean, I guess Crystal's not short. It's hard for me to gauge because obviously, you know, I'm a big guy. But yeah, she's a big girl, man.
that is hilarious. I mean,
Yeah.
do you feel like everything's just going, right about the timeline it should? Is it going too fast? How do you feel?
Um, it is weird when you look back at stuff. It seems like it goes fast.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, 3 years
I
ago, she didn't exist.
Yeah, like I mean, at all. And now she bought. Now it's my boss. You know, but like I don't know. Like I think these first few years are the ones that really kind of get people, and you hear people talk about it when a baby's first born, because you change so much in infancy and when you're a toddler that you look down and it's like, oh man, I've been working a lot lately. Now my kid's 6 inches taller, and I think it's just because of the growth at this stage of life. It feels like it flew by, and I'm sure it'll slow down a little bit. Um, but I don't know if you ever heard me say this, but I've always had a theory on why, as people get older, they always say that time flies by fast.
What's that?
So you can pretty much, if you think about it, look back at any one subject like Nova, right? I can look back at Nova and my brain can almost collect all the information about Nova that I have in the one instant, right?
Mm.
Well, right now it's 3 years instantaneously, but in 30 years, it's going to be 33 years that I view back on instantaneously, right?
Mm.
So an 80-year-old can look back on their entire life at one like little moment, and it's 80 years worth of information, and it's like, whoa, where did that go?
Mm.
But when you're 2, it's not it's like, well, I only have this much information to look back on. So when you're filtering through it, it's like, oh, it's not that much. I don't
Mm.
know if that makes sense, but that's how I always feel. It's like the older she gets, it's going to feel like it was faster than it really was, just because of the fact it's like, oh man, there's all these memories that be filtered through, and it's like, holy crap, where did it all go?
Yeah.
Um, it's like, it's more like a rush, I guess. But yeah, where's your baby?
Cha.
I'm just messing with you, my man.
Don't put that voodoo on me. Yeah, me and Rachel, we just decided, like, we don't know, we have no idea, like, when, if and when, we're
Yeah,
going to. So we're just kind of like living. And then people ask us all the time,
that's yeah.
when are you gonna have
Which
a
is
kid? But we're like,
I was about to say that. I was like, I never ask people that either, because it's like,
yeah.
but and what's me and Crystal, it was, I think everyone always knew we were going to have kids.
Mm.
I know I always wanted to have kids. I know I don't want to be like my sisters, with one with 820 children at the house, and the other one's pregnant with her third.
Oh.
Um, yeah. But and then I obviously have the 14-year-old sister too. But it was like we were telling each other right after we got married, like, we're gonna wait like 2-3 years. We'll wait until I'm like 32, you'll be 30. And it was like 2 months later, like, oh, I'm pregnant. Like,
Oh.
man, that wasn't part of the plan. What did we do? And I'm just, but like, we were both super excited, but I think we were both a little thrown back, because we were purposefully watching ourselves to try to not have a kid,
Mm.
and then of course it's my fault, but
Oh my goodness. So did you, when you find out you're having a kid, do you, what stage in life were you in? Did you have to change anything? I think
yeah.
you'd already started the Camp Gladiator stuff, right?
Um, I had, but this is where it was a very scary timing.
Mm.
So me and Crystal had gotten married in November, and uh, 2 weeks after we got married, I was already working on everything to get set up to get into the franchise. And I was at work one day. I was managing a grocery store at the time, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I went home. I was like, Crystal, can I quit my job? And she's like, well, what, huh? Right? And she's like, you're crazy. And she was working at a Dillard's running a makeup counter. And so she's like, yeah, she's like, I trust you. You're good. And so I quit my job, and I can't start. I find out I'm not going to be able to start the Camp Gladiator stuff until January.
Mm.
Well, we found out she was pregnant, just a few months later, and I'm in the middle of building a business that my first, this is the truth. My first 2 paychecks, I owed the company money. The first one was negative $97, and the next one was negative 138. I remember the exact amount. It was for insurance costs, to cover your own personal liability insurance and things like that. And I had, at the point, 2 people that had at that point started to pay me. So I was making $100 and spending a few hundred.
Yeah.
And then we find out that she's pregnant, and that's when I found out. And so that was the scariest. I was super excited, scariest, most motivating moment in one instance, because I had to sit back and was like, I just owed my job money. Never in my life have I been told, like, hey, here's your paycheck. Go ahead and transfer us the money you owe. I was paying all my bills with my credit cards. And it was before Nova was born. It was the September before. It was 2 months before. It was the first time that I looked down at my paycheck, and it covered not only all of my bills, but had replaced my income.
Mm,
And it took the full 9 months. And looking back at it, when comparing it to some of the trainers that are coming in and seeing other people that have been in the franchise, um, it was fairly fast to
mm,
do that. And I 100%, it was 100% because I'm like, I have a kid on the way, and I'm gonna like screw this up if I don't find a way to make money really, really fast.
yeah.
Um, and so it was, I sat in a parking lot for days on end when I first started. And I'd go home. I would wait about 30 minutes after my camps. And I would go home and tell Crystal, and she's like, "What took you so long?" I was like, "I was in the parking lot crying." And
Mm,
she's like, "What?" I was like, like I'm worried that I set us back 10 years in our life,
mm,
and we have a kid on the way. And I was scared. But those moments are like it's weird because it's like not, yeah, I don't, it's not everybody sees this stuff, and I'm sure you've got those moments going into the military, coming out of it, moving,
yeah.
and people don't see those moments where you're like broken down. They go, "Oh, good job, Kent, pat on the back, you built a business." um, and it's had its up and downs, within that. But the people don't realize, I literally sat in a parking lot. I felt, it's like having that moment where you get I don't know, it's like everyone bringing you into the room saying, "Oh, you've got a drinking problem or something." It was just by yourself in a parking lot where you're realizing, like, I have to fix whatever I have going on right now to push past this. And so yeah, Nova did that, for sure. I probably would have given up, I'm not gonna lie, after the first few months, if I didn't know I had a kid coming, because I didn't feel like I had any other option at that point.
Mm,
Because if I just went and found another job or tried to go get a job with my degree, and you start all over, and I just spent all this money, um, I was like, either way, it would have set us back. And I was
yeah.
like, I can't do this. Like, I have to make it work. So yeah, yay Nova. I'm my
So
own boss because my kid, man.
yeah, yeah. So I
Why she's
mean,
the boss.
do you feel like that was something that you needed to, like, that needed to happen in your life? Like, you felt
Yeah,
like, and what about the timing? Like, how old are you again?
yeah. I'll be 32, and what's today, the 13th, in 9 days.
Oh wow. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, you're almost 32. You've been through school.
no.
What's that timing like? Do you feel like this was good timing? You wish it happened earlier? You wish it happened later? Like, how do you feel about it?
Oh, like earlier would have been great.
Yeah.
Not and I'm not the person that thinks like, I know we've both. I know you've seen Gary Vaynerchuk, right?
Yeah.
And I always love how he talks about how you're never too old to change or to do something. And so, like, by all means, like, doing, like, if I change my mind in a year and want to do something else, I'm going to go for it. But it would have been convenient for sure to be 25 when it happened,
Mm.
as much as being scary with the kid, because I would say you you get that first job out of school, and I was still kind of transitioning on what I really wanted to do. Um, and so I was like working at a grocery store and making a whole bunch of vines all the time, like just being stupid, and you get comfortable. We were set. We were living back home in our hometown. Our families are here. I've got the little sister at the time's like 8, and we just got like settled in and comfortable. And I don't know if we would have changed where we were
Mm.
at that moment if this didn't happen the way it did.
Yeah.
Um, so if it would have happened at 25, I'd probably be making 100K more a year right now, and that would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I think it would have propelled me sooner, because I would say there was a good 4 years where we just got comfortable. And I don't know if it was you that actually posted this, that I saw one day, but it was someone saying something about, um, doing like purposefully trying to find ways to make yourself uncomfortable. And I don't know if it was you or somebody else. And that's, it makes sense because it's, if you find ways to make yourself uncomfortable, it means you're changing things and trying to progress. And I think most of us do that after school.
Yeah.
Like you've changed a lot of stuff. You've been moving around. You've been doing all this, and that's something that why I could have continued to be like, "Hey, Jackson, how you been?" Or just like, and it might be once every 6 months I might comment something to you or you
Mm.
back. And but that's one of the things that I've looked at. It's like, oh, Jackson's always trying to find what's next, and I think so many of us just um, like some of the golfers, right? Like I know I was really close to all the golf team. They went and got jobs on a golf course, and then 3 years later, they're like, "I'm working on a golf course." I'm like, "Hey, what are you doing now?" "I'm working on a golf course." It's like, "Oh, are you doing anything different?" "No, I make 15 an hour working on a golf course." And you just get comfortable because it's something, you just find that little zone and you stick to it. So I'm happy it happened because now I force myself not to be that way.
Yeah. And also you pick something that's, right. You know what I mean? Like you pick something that's everybody should be doing. Everybody should be
Yeah,
healthy. Like everybody
yeah,
should want their life to be
yeah,
healthy. And that's what you picked. You pick something that it's already you should be doing anyways, that
yeah,
natural.
yeah, yeah. And well, and the thing with me is even outside of the fitness side of it, my job is more so to engage with people and build relationships with them more than it is really training them. Because once you build a relationship with them, you have this bond. And so now they're like, there's people like when they've had to cancel an account or something like that, they always come back. Or I've told people like it feels like someone's breaking up with me
Mm,
when they're like, hey, I have to save money for a while or I have to do this. And building the relationships is what grew the business more than the fitness side of it. And it's like you said, because the fitness is already supposed to be a part of your life. And I think my stepfather had always told me that my biggest success in life would be when I found something I could do to where I got to engage with people just naturally.
hmm
Like he's always thought that my gift was just communicating with people, being around people, and just kind of sometimes being the crazy one, sometimes I'll be the argumentative one, but I build bonds with people in a very natural way. And he used to always tell me that's when you'll find what you need to do. And it's, well, when you have a group of people outside that are all different in different ways and you have to connect with all of them. And it was like, it was the perfect fit for that too. So it's like, I get to do the two things that myself needs in one job. I get to have a fitness class while fulfilling my gift of being able to communicate. And in other jobs, my like me being the way I am is a burden.
mm,
You saw that at Pizza Hut sometimes. Sometimes it's like, where'd Kent go? He's talking to somebody.
yeah, yeah.
Or Kent quits because he got mad because people didn't make enough dough on Super Bowl Sunday or something.
Yeah, I mean, like a lot of times, people who are just good at conversation, that's what they excel at, maybe accidentally. Like they might
Yeah,
find a job accidentally where they just needed to be personable and
yeah,
and help people out, just like podcasts. Like I think you'd be
yeah.
great for podcasting, just because you like information, you like arguing, and you
Oh,
like
I do.
and you like being able to just have somebody around. So
Yeah.
uh, uh, please, by all means, like if you start a podcast, I definitely listen to it for sure.
I would definitely have you on too. I know. I've talked about doing one with my daughter. My stepdad's always wanted me to do one. Um, it's like, man, like the I make excuses on time like everybody else. I always tell people when they tell me they don't have time to work out, and I'm like, but you watched Grey's Anatomy last night, and like sometimes you find that it's like, what's the priority more so than what's the excuse,
Yeah.
and I've always wanted to, but I've always found some stupid excuse and haven't made it a priority to do it. I just enjoy. that's why I like yours, like what you've done with yours, or say like a Joe Rogan podcast on a massive scale. There, it's the randomness of it too. It's
Mm.
the not talking about one subject that makes it great, because people are interested in seeing people talk about what they like, or doing things that they like. If people watch people on YouTube opening and cutting Pokemon cards, but it's
Mm.
like, well, you see they enjoy that, right?
Mm.
And you're like you're the same way, where you've always been a person that enjoys just information. And so I love having, like, you having different types of people that have completely different backgrounds, or Joe Rogan having a science episode, and then the next episode they're talking about pounding someone's face in at UFC,
Yeah.
to CBD the next one. And just the constant new information makes it, interesting. I Some people just like stick to their guns, and it's like, this is a sports talk radio show, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay. And then what the ones that you end up listening to are the ones that end up arguing over what's the best 10 sandwiches.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, wait, this is a sports talk radio show, but the reason I love it is they were like, we're ranking the top 10 sandwiches in sports history. Like, it's like, I love this. Sports talk radio is great. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's not even what they're talking about. They're talking about what they're enjoying.
Yeah. One thing that I definitely just enjoy about doing the podcast is, for sure, like, just hearing the stories from people, like the
Yeah.
story you just told about, just sitting in your car crying. Like, that's the
Yeah.
type of stuff that I literally just enjoy hearing from people, is because, like, I love when people get vulnerable. Like, I told
Yeah.
Rachel, um, what was it? We were just talking about things that, we don't really communicate to each other well. And I told her, I was like, honestly, the one of the most, it sounds weird, but one of the most attractive things I like find in her is when she cries in front of me. And
Yeah.
because I know she hates it. She
Yeah.
absolutely hates to cry in
Yeah.
front of me. But I love it because it lets me know she's being vulnerable right now, and she's
Yeah.
choosing to trust me and to be vulnerable in front of me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
was like, that's one of the most, like, best things I like about you when you do that, because it makes me feel good, because now I know
Yeah.
that's what you're going through. So just
Yeah.
hearing those types of stories, and hearing, what people went through to get to where they are. And oh, by the way, there is a phenomenal podcast called How I Built This. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No.
Called How I Built This with Guy Raz. And I don't know if you know
Okay.
what NPR is. It's like a
Yeah.
big broadcasting thing.
Yeah. So I don't make fun of me for this, okay? So like, almost no one listens to NPR unless you're 95, right? And and so that's one of the things I used to get made fun of all the time in college was, I would have like Tom Robson in the car, or Dylan would be in the car, and I would always be playing music when everybody else was in the car, but when I'm alone, I would listen to NPR.
Hmm.
And everyone,
What is it?
like, and every now and then I'd forget to change it, and it would be on. And most of it's not it's like, some of it's news, some of it's current events, some of it's stuff about articles and stuff, and it's real nerdy. And I think that's where, like, some of them started to really figure out that I was, as much as I'm the wild and out there one, I think you'll agree with me. I'm a closet geek. Like, I'm a nerd. Like, I love talking about really dumb stuff, and I think I come off a lot of times as aloof, and because I talk a lot and I'm goofy, but then I'm the one everyone was calling, like, hey, can you do my paper for me? Like, yeah, I was doing finance work for the golf team, and I wasn't a finance major. But just because they're like, well, Kent will sit here and read it, like, he'll think it's fun. Like, sure. But like, yeah, I used to listen to NPR all the time. So don't make fun of me. I still sometimes will crack it on for like a good oldie, like little.
Yeah. So
it's like my version of Drake.
So yeah, NPR, they basically just have Guy Raz. He I guess he works for them, but I guess they say it's like his podcast. But so How I Built This is literally just about that he has on people who have built a business, and
that's amazing.
He just like asked them from start to finish. You know, he talks to them about their entire life, and I think the first ones started about like 30 minutes, and then like progressively they're now all about an hour long. Um, he had on the woman who started Spanx, Blake, or no, Sarah Blakely, that's her name. He had on Mark Cuban. He had
Yeah.
on the guy who started Airbnb. He had on the woman and her friends who started Cisco, like the switches, like a Cisco.
Yeah.
He had on her the guy who
About the
started.
thong song Cisco.
He had on the guy who had compact computers, like all these great things that we enjoy
Yeah.
nowadays. He's had on the people who started those, and you wouldn't believe some of the craziest stories. Like,
Well, you know what that's what sounds amazing about that is they're all going to be unique.
yes, yes,
Like they're all going to be completely different, and something like that where I think it's easy for us to get in a mindset that like a successful business needs like a few things: money, right? You have to have money or spend money or find a way to get funding. You have to have someone that gets a little lucky, but then and then most of the time people look at like intelligence or the right, and that I think we all get stuck in this like same little like loophole or like box on what we think you have to do to be a successful business, and that opens it up and shows everybody like, no, you can do anything in any type of way, and there's an infinite amount of ways this could work if you do it the way you need to do it.
and I think
And
somebody like you will definitely appreciate that podcast just because how you haven't even listened to it, but you already just processed like what it's going to be about. But
yeah,
like, and that's when the last question that Guy will ask at the end of the podcast is how much of this how much of your success would you contribute to your skills and your knowledge, or is it just luck? And everybody has a different answer. Some
yeah,
people will say, it was a little bit of half and half. Some people are like, well, I don't believe in luck.
yeah,
Everybody's got different answers, but it's great that he always asks that because of the different answers. Uh,
yeah,
Also, as you said, there's so many different ways that you can
hmm,
be successful,
yeah,
and so like the shoot, what is it? Oh, the guy who started Wikipedia, he's
yeah,
actually from Huntsville, Alabama, and he said that he just wanted something on the internet. He
yeah.
started this around the .com boom, and he just wanted something.
That's why he's asking us all for $12 every time we go look up some information now. Yeah,
He said he just wanted something to where everybody could just access the information for free. And so his net worth is like, it's either close to $1 million or close to $10 million. Like,
yeah,
that's it. Like, Mark
yeah. And
Zuckerberg.
think Wikipedia is like outside of just saying Google,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's probably been the most utilized information source there is. Whether all of the stuff on there you see is accurate or not,
Yeah.
it's I mean it's shaped like it's literally shaped the world. The guy's worth maybe a million, $10 million.
Yeah, and
You
he
know,
said that the money was never really that important to him. It was
yeah,
he just wanted. He was like, yeah, I'm just kind of doing this for fun. Like I
yeah,
didn't really care about making the money because you have to think
yeah,
like what's his name, Larry Page, who started Google,
yeah.
or whoever it was, and then you got Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, and
Mhm,
all these people who've started these websites that you can search
mhm,
things on. They're worth billions of dollars, but
yeah,
this guy who outside of Google and the Library of Alexandria,
yeah.
Wikipedia is up there for information.
And if you think about it, when you go and Google something, you're half the
The
time Googling
Wikipedia.
the Wikipedia. So I mean, it's at the top of every page.
Yeah,
It should like if he could just get some of that Google AdSense money that's on the front of the main Google page, like it'd be good.
yeah, and I'm surprised, that he doesn't really care, for it.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even have to work that hard to get it. He just
No.
wants it to be nonprofit.
Yeah.
They said Guy sometime during the podcast was like, they've estimated that Wikipedia is worth about $5 billion. He was like,
Yeah.
you ever think about that? And he's like, I mean, not really. And I was like, that's crazy. That blows my.
It wouldn't even be Wikipedia anymore because it would have been gone.
Yeah.
It would have been like, where do I sign? Thank you. Peace. And then I would be calling Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and all of them and saying, hey, let's go to dinner. Thank you for my check. And you'll never see me again. I'm buying a cruise ship, and I'm going to take my 100 best friends and never return.
Yeah.
That, like, you know, it's what's crazy is, do you remember Professor Featherstone?
Oh my God, I remember the name, but I can't think of who it is.
So that was the e-commerce concentration that was part of my management degree. There was only 3 of us in the entire program because you had to be invited in,
Oh.
and you had to get a recommendation to be in the thing. And he taught every single class. And one of them was just we had to like build a fake business. We had just a whole semester to do it. But he originally started his own tech company, and he was writing software code in the 80s. And when Microsoft got bugged about making an operating system, and then they ended up giving it to IBM and their sales model and everything, he got bought out by IBM because IBM started seeing him as an issue the way he was selling stuff to Microsoft.
Was
right?
that short guy and we did in like the auditorium?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember him.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He had the one like e-commerce class, and then you could get in the program. There's like 5, 6 more, and he got bought out by IBM, right? And then after he got bought out by IBM, he worked for IBM for all these years and was investing into Apple in the late 90s. Like all these big tech companies, Uber, Netflix, dude's loaded. He literally decided to teach at JSU because he rode his bike from Atlanta, I'm not kidding, down that trail and saw the school and was like, I think I'm going to teach here one day. I'm not even kidding. Like, I really built a connection with this guy, and like he was like kind of a mentor to me. He was trying to get me to go work at IBM right out of school. And I always was blown away with some of the stuff that he would point out to me. And the one that he always showed is, if you look at it, the most successful businesses in the world right now are free. Google, Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Even you start looking at all this stuff, it's free. But what they've done is like, you can like, here's an analogy. Like, if you build a highway, right? And me and you invested into the company that built the highway, we're going to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But then those people are done with their job and they leave. And then a McDonald's comes and sets up on the highway, and it's there for the next 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
So the person that invested in the McDonald's is going to keep making money and keep making money, while me and you got our short little term. These free companies set up on what all the build out of the World Wide Web and the internet, and they built their stuff on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And they put a free sign, and then they've turned that free sign into the most valuable companies in the world.
Yeah,
it's just crazy to think about. It's like free. Like, yeah. How do you make money off of free? It's like you said, he could be worth $5 billion for free.
Yeah,
it costs nobody anything.
Mm-hmm.
And just from the advertisements and the other, and I've always been blown away with it. It's like, how can I tell people that I'm like, I'll do anything for free? Just make me a $5 billion.
Yeah, I remember like just small anecdotal things from college, and that that dude, he was pretty cool.
He's a little wacky.
Yeah, I remember him.
And then that one creepy professor that would always be cooking like hot dogs at the softball games and the. No, you had him. I promise. I can't remember. He was like, he looked like he would have been from like a like a murder, like a murder mystery or something, like the game Clue. He had like white hair and like these little round glasses and like I promise you, you know who it is.
Hmm.
I can't remember who it was, but he was weird. He definitely broke some like NCAA violations for sure.
Oh my God.
I'd be going like, Crystal, where are y'all going tonight? Oh, the softball team's going out to eat with the professor.
Not tonight. Not
Hey,
tonight. No, no,
didn't Des Bryant go eat with like Deion Sanders and get suspended? Like I'm confused.
yeah.
It's JSU. Don't worry about it.
Oh, by the way, so you remember John Hill, my roommate?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Long hair.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
John, do you know he's a Navy pilot now?
I've actually seen. I do follow him on I think Instagram.
Okay.
Um, and every now and then if he like pops up through my feed. But I have seen that he was doing something in the military. I didn't know if he was like a mechanic, but I known that he was in the military. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't know he was a.
Yeah, he's
I'm jealous, to be honest.
I want to say he's going to kill me for this. I think he's like a helicopter pilot or something like
Yeah,
that. I'm actually doing a podcast with him tomorrow. So,
that was my dream as a kid, was to be a fighter pilot.
oh, really?
Yeah, even in high school, my parents would argue with me because I'd always tell them I was going to be a fighter pilot, and they would argue. My mom's like, I'm not letting you go in the military. You're damn crazy." And it turns out I'm pretty big, so like half of the stuff I couldn't even fit in.
Yeah.
Which I know they've gotten better at now. I've actually talked to people that I know that have been in the military. They're like, yeah, it used to be a big deal with your sitting height and stuff, but they're like, people are getting bigger, so they've got to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was told at 17 that there was I was like, what do you want to be? I was like, well, I would want to be a pilot. And they're like, oh yeah, like cargo pilot. Like, no, I would want to be a fighter pilot. And they're like, well, you don't want to join then, because like there's no way in hell. Like, it's like being a sniper at our size.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like hide under the bush. I'm like, I'm bigger than the bush.
But shoot, where was I going with that? I was going to tell you about John, to tell you about, shoot, I don't remember.
He's going to be in the remake of Black Hawk Down. I'm just kidding. That could come off so terrible. I meant the actual movie, not the real life situation. Dang it. I just got canceled.
Shoot, I forgot what I was going to say. What were we just talking about? You were telling me about
the creepy professor.
That's what. Yeah, not that these two correlate with each other, but he was in electrical engineering school, and I remember he kept telling me about this like foreign professor whose last name is Bakush, and he would like just try to imitate like the way he talks, and that's how I just remembered who the guy was. Well, so for my job, I was looking in like a programming book, and it was either programming or electrical engineering type stuff. And I opened the book, and one of the people who wrote the book was Bakush.
And you read it in his voice, didn't you?
Yeah. And I see, Dr. blah, 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 Bakush. And then it says, Jacksonville State University. And I was like, no way. And so I told John, he was like, oh man, that's crazy.
And it's like, I don't think people realize like most of the people that are professors have been successful doing something before.
Yeah.
They don't, because I don't think anyone ever goes to school going, I'm going to be a college professor. Like you might want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
But like typically it's like the professors are people who've been there, done that. And they're like, I don't want to for real work anymore. I'd rather just like spread it. Or they might be someone that just enjoys like spreading knowledge. But like, I've never met someone that's like, one day I'm setting myself up in high school so I can be a college professor, and that's weird.
Me and Olivia were talking about that because, I always wondered, like, what people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Lawrence Krauss, I'm like, what do they do on a day-to-day basis, But, like, some people who are on their level are just professors. Like, some of them are, like, just professors at school.
Yeah, well, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Like, So I was actually listening a podcast that he was on the other day, and I mean, since I'm like love physics and space, and dude, I've got like space tattooed all over me now.
Oh snap!
You would freak if you saw how many tattoos I have now. But they, and he, like every time I listen to him, to your point, is he has a natural gift of making learning interesting for people that wouldn't like I'm already interested in that subject,
Mm-hmm.
but the average person thinks it's the weirdest and most annoying thing to listen to
Yeah.
is when someone wants, like when I find someone I can have those conversations with, it's like I feel like I'm in heaven.
Yeah.
But like he has a gift to like draw you in this fun, quirky way of teaching that he does. And it makes it in. And to your point, like he's a natural, like he's a professor, he's a teacher, he's, and because he was meant to be that, because he naturally just is good at it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if many of us are.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why, you ever notice the people that are the most successful typically aren't the best at teaching people how to do it,
Oh yeah. Yes.
right?
That's
It's
true.
always the people that struggled and maybe failed that I've always found to be the best. And he's someone that from listening to him a lot, that he always struggled in biomechanics and physics and all these fields that he's in, and quantum physics and all this, because people, this is kind of weird to say, but the physicists and stuff thought he was quirky and out of the box and weird thinking, and the way he meant, like he's not behind the scenes doing it and writing it on a piece of paper. He's doing it with a personality, and he got backlash for a long time about how he was.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's not even someone, like, even though he's successful now, like I think it's crazy. You don't like, it's not the people who succeed in these typical ways that are the best teachers. It's the people who did it abnormally and failed sometimes,
Yeah.
like Mark Cuban, like, you mentioned him earlier. He was a bartender in Dallas, that literally 30 minutes from where I'm at, when he was 30. And by the time he was the age I'm at now, he's worth $2 billion.
Yeah. And
You know,
so in that How I Built This podcast, he was talking about how he like the different like stores. He worked at some store where he was like wheeling and dealing
yeah,
electronics,
yeah,
and then he just like basically oh, it was one time he said he had a big sale. Like he knew
yeah,
like the customer, he knew he needed to sell this thing to the customer, but his boss told him like he needed to like go to the customer or something like that, but like he was in charge of either opening the shop or closing the shop. I can't
yeah,
remember. And so he was supposed to either open or close, and he was like, I can't, like I've got to go make the sale. And then his boss told him like, no, you are supposed to open or close. And he was like, no. so, so he went to go make the sale,
yeah,
made the sale, and then got fired because he was supposed to like
yeah.
either open or close. I forgot which one it was, but I was,
But like, look at like those connections and stuff he had and what built, like
yeah,
thinking like I don't think people realize, like, he had many businesses before broadcast.com,
yeah,
and and they were fairly successful, and he started making more money, but he was still working odd end jobs, like to get
yeah,
by. Because people see, oh, I made $1 million off this business, and they're like, they don't realize you spent 950,000 to run it. And like and that's an example of luck too. I don't like he sold off his stock before the .com bubble burst, and did it without being slimy and illegal.
mm,
Um, I know the Yahoo stock that when he sold his Yahoo stock, because Yahoo bought his stuff, he sold it. I think it had dropped from like $117 a share to like $7 or something like that, like overnight. And he had sold it like 2 weeks before or 2 months before or something like that. So he would have, and it would have been a difference of being like worth 2.5 billion, which now he's grown into way more,
yeah,
to like 2 million, right? And it's like, oh, he would have made 2 million still. It's like, well,
yeah.
like
He's
people shoot themselves over that, like,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like,
but all those stories that these people have, it's like, we all wish that we could just, as entrepreneurs, we wish we could
Yeah.
just like unlock that, like, oh,
Yeah.
what is my story supposed to be? But
Yeah.
that's the whole point, is you don't know, and your life is figuring it out. Like,
Yeah.
you're just supposed to find out what happens, and it
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
But it's fun though.
Well, it's like right now, I don't know if you've seen this. So Crystal's dad, he had some health issues when he was young, and so he had to retire at a young age, and he started a lawn care company, right? And he's getting older now, and he can't really do it. And so while I'm running a business, he's like we all talked about it. It's like, oh, I'll take it over. And they're like, what? Why do you need to do this? And I'm like, oh, because, well, it's being handed in front of me,
Hmm.
right? Like my father-in-law is just going to dissolve a business, and he needs to, but it's like, why would we waste that income in as a family? And so I went and bought a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna mow a bunch of yards, because like for the training, I work 4 hours a day,
Mm.
which people get annoyed hearing because there's a lot more than the 4 hours a day, but it's on my time.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, where I've got a 4 hour schedule. I'll say
Mm.
that. But they, so I took it over, and everyone's like, "You're crazy," and I'm like, "No, I'll just work my butt off for an extra year or two, and then I'll have employees."
Mm.
And so I like, it's a business being set in front of me that is something that I could build in a way he never could.
Mm.
And so it's like I'm going to take advantage of that. And I think that's what all those people did. They were handed the right opportunity at the right time, and I've been talking to people since I did it, and it sucks. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, now it's like, man, I was working 4 hours of actual like labor in a sense. I don't look at it as work. I think people think it's. I have people all the time. What's your real job? And I'm like, I make more than you. Like, like
Yeah.
don't, like, not even trying to be condescending or anything about it. It's like, this is my job. Like
Yeah.
it's my job. But they, like I've met some people, and there was a guy I was talking to, and he's like, yeah, I did the same thing. I was a firefighter, and a lot of firefighters will do stuff on their, off days, and like hang Christmas lights and do yard care. And he was talking to us, and he's like, yeah, I started off with 1 yard, my neighbors, and one truck, one mower, one. And he goes, it's been 5 years. I have 700 yards that my employees take care of.
Oh
And
my
so I
God.
kind of jumped back. So I went home, and because I wasn't going to ask all his business, but I was going to make sure I figured it out.
Mm.
Uh, so I start doing the math on it, on what the average yard costs, like in the area, and how many weeks on average you would mow yards throughout the year. And I start breaking all this stuff down, how much he was going to end up bringing in revenue, how much taxes it would end up costing, and all this. And he's pocketing a net, and this is rough, of what the basic calculations of just the numbers that you can find on the internet, and which I know because I'm doing it, somewhere between 500,000 and 600,000 a year,
Oh wow.
because he goes and quotes yards, does he has people that run the business for him, and by all means, it's still work to be the boss
Hmm.
and to go through all that and to make sure things are run the way you need to, and to keep the reputation and all this. But he started off with mowing his neighbor yard for like $25, and 5 years later he's making 600 a year,
Oh.
and that's after taxes, as I did the math. And I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, people are like, right now, and I'm going through it right now. They did it when I was started Camp Gladiator, like, oh, it's a fad, you don't know what you're doing, this is crazy, why would you jump into it? And it's not like I'm trying to sell like some plexus or whatever, some of the little, like, hey, I need my buddies to all buy my shakes. That's like tangible stuff, and grass always grows.
Mm.
But it's amazing how, because it looks like this job to everyone that I'm doing it, they're like, why are you putting yourself below where you're at?
Mm.
and I'm like, because that's how it's being viewed some, but I'm sitting here like, so this man's making 600K, and that's his side business. Like, like his real job makes like 40,000. Like he's no longer a firefighter. I'll put it that way. But I still would though, so I could get that pension at the end too. That.
Yeah.
But and the insurance for sure that'll cost him the 600K if he doesn't. But but yeah, and it's amazing to me how many things you can make $600,000 a year fairly, and not easily, but in a way that's not impossible for anyone. Like anyone could find a way to pay other people to mow yards for them.
Yeah.
Like whether it's I start doing it on my own and until I can get enough people and business to pay one person, or even pay them all of the money, but you keep it in your name and keep everything until it grows further. And like, cause I've even looked at it and someone's like, well, what are you going to do when you hire your first employee? I was like, I'll probably pay them 80% of the profit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that's not beneficial to you. I'm like, yeah, it is. And then people don't understand that. Everyone keeps thinking I'm putting myself below the standard that I've already built for myself. And I mean, yeah, I could go buy Apple stock, but Apple stock is already high.
Yeah.
Or I could start where people think I'm below, and I don't think people aren't willing to see the value in like the little, like it looks like a job you would do if you can't get a job.
Yeah.
But people are making millions of dollars doing it. It's
I remember Featherstone was telling us about, he had a friend who started a garbage business. It was I think he had garbage trucks. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he said that dude's worth, a few million or 100 million or something like that now because he just started a garbage business.
Well, I've got one for you that I know we had this conversation. I had this conversation with Tom Robson, and I know I had this conversation with Dylan. And when we were in college, and I remember this stuff. Like, it's weird that I remember some of this. We had all had conversations just joking around on, what would be great, because it was like late at night. And I think me and Tom were the first ones that had thought of it. And we were like, what would be great is if someone could go get me some food, right? And then we started joking about it. We're like, and I think we had the conversation because of being at Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Where and it might have been where we had the conversation where it's like, well, I'm already a delivery driver. What if I just told people like, hey, you want your Taco Bell and you're too drunk to drive?
Yeah.
Text me, I'll go pick it up for 10 extra bucks.
Yeah.
And then like now we're, and by all means, like Uber Eats was probably already being built and we just didn't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
DoorDash and all these. But it seems think how simplistic of an idea it is to go like, hey, pay me $10, I'll go get your food.
Yeah.
They're conglomerates.
Yeah.
Now, because of stuff that all of us have had conversation, like, hey man, I'll give you $10 if you go buy me some toilet paper. Well, now we all pay people to do it. Yeah. And it's someone took the little idea that everyone thought the guy that didn't have a job was trying to get $10 in his pocket was going to do, is the idea that makes millions.
Yeah.
It's always the simple stuff. Like people that get these complex ideas of what they need to do for business, I think are, they're undermining like the potential of other things. Like think about the things that you've done or like in life that have always seemed to be either the most like fulfilling for you or the most successful. And most of them are simple.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you and your wife going for a trip in the mountains is a lot more of a fulfilling thing than if you were say like, hey, I'm going to get to meet the queen tomorrow. Like, I hope I make 600,000 is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that have, I guess, just been brought out from like super simple ideas. Like the
Yeah.
first episode of How I Built This with Sarah Blakely, she invented Spanx, and so
Yeah.
Spanx is like the women's undergarment.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She just had the idea and then just put it together, and with the help of, you have to listen to the whole podcast, but with the help of the right individuals, that's how she got her business going. And then I heard I
Well,
can't.
it's like, what's his face? It was on Shark Tank that started FUBU.
Mm,
He was selling clothes to his friends on the street.
mm.
Like, he was just like, hey man, like, we can't afford to go buy some polo. Let me sew something up real quick that looks like it.
Oh wow!
Like, it was literally like him like making clothes and selling it in the neighborhood.
Oh wow!
Like, here, oh man, we can't afford Ralph Lauren, so I'll make a $5 shirt that we all think looks cool, and we'll just have our own little, because now in our own little community, we don't judge each other on what clothes we're wearing, because we're wearing our clothes. We're wearing the clothes that we made in our neighborhood. And then, I mean, obviously, he's on Shark Tank, like it.
And for those of you who don't know, as Kent just described, the name FUBU is for us, by us. So.
I literally described it without saying it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, the white guy can't be the first one that says it. Like, let's be real.
Tell me the clothes you wear without telling me the clothes you wear.
I'll spell it out, FUBU. Yeah, no, it's like you said, it's like the simple ideas can blow up. Like, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
Like your podcast is going too.
I hope so. Well, man, it's been great talking to you. I just want to wrap this up. So what give me everything that people can reach you on, your socials.
Yeah.
People want to contact you if they want to reach out and see what you're doing. So
yeah,
give that to everybody.
So Facebook, Kent Cheatham. It's nice and simple. Instagram, TikTok, all the other stuff. It's Kentosito. I think you'll remember me being called Oso or Osito. So it's just Kent, Kent, and then Osoito. And all of that stuff has not only just me and my kid, but it also all my Camp Gladiator stuff. If anyone ever wanted to do that, we're actually like right now, honestly, we have a virtual program and stuff. So I'm down for anybody that tells me they saw me on Jackson's podcast. So that'd be pretty cool. I'll give y'all a free little come up to work out if y'all want to. I'm not trying to like plug myself, but
that's what this is for.
Yeah, so but I'm not that interesting. So, but if y'all see Kentosito with a podcast, because it'd be the same name, come listen in, and I'll probably talk about something really dumb. So
I can't wait to be a guest.
Right. It'll be like, what do Jackson, what would you do if a snake bit your foot while you were upside down in a tank of Jello?
Next time on Kentosito, Jackson's upside down with the snake.
It's like, I'll pay you $1,000 to do it right now, bro.
Oh.
No, I appreciate it, man.
No doubt. Well, all right. Thank you for everybody tuning in, and we'll see you next time.